Yeah, no, I mean, we were friendly again, and then, everybody gets busy. She has her kids, and I'm sure if we ran into each other, it would be fine.
You think you would exchange hellos and it would just be like old times?
Of course, absolutely. No, we had buried the hatchet long, long, long ago. Um, but I think that she's a person who moves on and does her thing, and she's not a sentimental person like I am. I'm very sentimental. I hold on to my friendships for unless they really something really drastic happens. I mean, I have friends from when I was like 5 years old, so that's just who I am. But I still have sentimental feelings about her. We had so much fun. And it was such a great moment at that time. And I'm sorry it ended. It's like you want to like maintain your friendships, but we have seen each other, and it would be fine if we saw each other tomorrow.
That's good. And you don't think she's sentimental. And you look at someone like a Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour is like the biggest thing in the world, Beyonce. You just think maybe, right? Like people would say that about Prince all the time. Like, is it just someone's like in that stratosphere and it's just hard to maintain relationships in general?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is, but I don't think it's that hard. I just think it's choices people make, and but people get busy. I mean, people do their thing. I don't stay in touch with everybody I've ever known or had like a big fun time with. So I understand. It's all cool. I'm not a dramatic person. That's just not my thing. So however things resolve, it's okay.
That's a good attitude. That's kind of my attitude for life. Last Madonna question before we move on. When something happens, like, last year, like when she was like rushed to the hospital and like was unconscious, like, do you then feel like, okay, I mean, it's been decades, but do you feel like we once had a friendship? I should reach out?
I think I just answered all that. But you know what I mean? It's like she was in a very, very precarious, terrible situation. I don't think nobody needs anybody else reaching out. It's like let her pull through, and when I see her again, I'll tell her I was thinking about her and hoping that she was going to be okay.
That's true. Is this true? Because, if you read stuff on the internet, of course it's true, Sandra, but is this true that you were up for or offered the role
Oh,
of Miranda?
I don't like talking about any of that kind of stuff because
Okay.
it's really, there's so many reasons for choosing and not choosing certain roles, and in retrospect, you can't really fully have a complete conversation about it. So
It's a long conversation, right?
yeah, it's a long conversation. All good though.
Everything is good. Because you mentioned you have another role coming up, that you can't tell us about, like what draws you to roles these days? Like, again, like after working with Ryan Murphy, those were such great roles. Like, what do you look for in a role, like when you decide these days?
Well, I mean, first of all, when somebody offers you a role, that's the number one, sort of attraction to something, because these days it's harder and harder to get an offer outright. So a lot of times people have to audition and jump through hoops, and when you don't, you're like you look at something. So Help Me Todd was just a great fun role with great actors, and this other thing is like a world class show, and a very offbeat, peculiar character. So it's show to show. You can't really say what it is, but you know what it is when you see it on the page.
And Marcia Gay Harden, that was a great role. That was
Oh
great.
yeah, they're fabulous, and I mean, I just can't say enough good things about her. She's just everything you'd imagine and more. First of all, she's one of the best actresses ever working, and second of all, she's just so generous and so giving as an actor and as a friend, as a person. It was just an amazing experience.
It was a great role. Well, so many people associate you with Letterman, from his decades on TV, but now there's a lot of people listening to this that associate you with your regular appearances on Watch What Happens. There's a lot of Bravo fans listening to this. You're on Radio Andy. What's it like to be on Watch What Happens as a regular guest?
Well, I've developed a friendship with Andy over the years, and he's also a big fan of mine from the Letterman days. So he knows that if somebody drops out or something happens, and he can call me because I'm one of those people that can step into almost any situation and make it work and bring something uplifting to it. So that makes it fun for him and takes the load off of him. Everybody wants a guest on their show. When I do my show, Sandyland weekly, it's like sometimes it's like pulling teeth with people. You're like, oh, just get me through this 20 minutes. And then sometimes people surprise you and just run with it, and you're like, oh, this is a delight. So I like to be that person who runs with it and brings my A game to any kind of interview.
And do you find from doing Sandyland, because I found this, like you can never tell, right? Like you have someone on, you're like, oh, this person's so fabulous, and they just fall so flat. And then you have someone else on, you're like, I mean, this is sure. And you're like, I love this person.
Yeah, I know. It's so weird. You just never know. Except for the people that I have on as regular guests, then you do know. So then it's great.
If you could interview anyone, like just anyone, who would it be? Like who's at the top of your list?
Oh, gee, there's so many people. I mean, the Obamas, I'd love to interview. Um, I'd love to interview Oprah and like really have a frank conversation with her about everything. But she's so careful, and I respect her for that because she has the weight of the world on her shoulders, as the Obamas would. It would be fun to be able to break through and have an old school conversation with anybody who's in the public eye. Hillary Clinton, people that I deeply respect who have really been put through hell, and maintain their sensibility and their willingness to give to this country, which I find endlessly amazing and inspiring. So any of those kind of people I'd love to talk to.
Those are all good people. Well, as we wrap up, listen, you were on my list for years and years and years and years and years. Shocker, as a gay man of a certain age that came of age in New York City, you and I have walked by each other many times in the West Village in Chelsea. So this is my job. I would be talking to you regardless, but I just want to say, like, this one was personal for me, Sandy. So, Sandra.
Right.
So thank you.
Sandy's great.
I've become so informal.
I've evolved into Sandy, so it's a looser me.
And thank you for always being such a great representation for the community. And everyone needs to come. I will be there May 11th in Fresno, May 15th at the Garden Amphitheater. Anyone who has not seen your show, it is singing, it is comedy. Like you said, it is anecdotes from the past. It is such a great current take on pop culture and politics. And it's just a good time. So
thank you, honey. Thank you for your time.
thank you. I really appreciate it.